So I don't know. Okay, it says I'm live. Oh, okay. So I am Huckleberry Rahr, author of the Jadestone Chronicles. You can find them on Amazon, and I am going to read the first chapter of Wolf Healer, which is right here. So here I go. Just warning, I am not the smoothest reader, but I will do my best. So here goes nothing. Jade, are you ready for today? With a thunk, I drop my bag onto the lab bench and start unpacking my material for class. 2 notebooks, one for notes and a smaller one for notes. Bevan, my lab partner, watched me, eyes sparkling. Standing, he was just over 6 feet tall with mousy brown hair. He always wore plaid button-downs that looked like he stole them from his dad's closet. You might mistake him for trying to blend in if it weren't for his mischievous personality and stunning sapphire blue eyes. Sliding into my lab seat until our shoulders bumped, I nearly fell onto the floor. He caught me, and I bit back a laugh. "What do you think?" In a teasing tone, he said, "Obviously not." He smiled widely. My nose wrinkled in mock annoyance, and I poked him in the shoulder with a pencil. He laughed loud enough to catch the attention of the few students around us. Class would start soon, and we had to stop goofing off. I dropped my head onto my folded arms to hide my smile, took a breath, and straightened back up. Bevan eyed me, and we both lost it again. We had been brought up together, our families connected, always thrown together since he was only a year older than me. Then there was the fact that Bevan, like me, was probably going to grow up to be a pack healer, so we'd better learn to love science class, especially biology. Though we both knew we were destined for medicine, his path into healing hadn't been as abrupt as mine. "Why do you have black hair, or red hair, or even blonde hair? Is your hair straight? Curly? Is there baldness in your family?" My pencil flew across my larger notebook as Miss White began her lecture. The chapter I had read last night had covered this, so this material wasn't new. On the smaller notepad, I scratched out movie, board game, or social tonight, and passed it to Bevan. He read it and passed it back. "Movie for the kiddos. My dad got that new movie they all want to see. Social for us. If we start playing a game, my sister will want to play. I haven't had much time to talk to Jose this week. It'll be nice." I have to laugh and shrugged. With Owen there, it isn't like you two will have time to talk, but sounds... "Jade!" Bevan urgent whisper pulled me back to class. Looking up, I saw the teacher's gaze boring into me. My heart raced. My chest as I gazed at her. I tried to keep my expression blank. "I'm sorry, Miss White. I missed the question." We had been discussing Punnett squares, 2 small 2x2 grids that let us compare parent traits to predict offspring. It was interesting to learn about our own characteristics and see how they played out in our families. My mom had auburn hair, but you couldn't see any of that with my black locks. My color was recessive to my dad's black locks. My eyes were what gave me my name. They were the exact shade of green of the stone. Genetics were a bit more of a spectrum than these boxes told us, but they were fun to place to start. Both my parents had brown eyes, but I had my grandparents' green eyes. My brother's blonde hair was a recessive trait that no one had expected, but his brown eyes were a mirror image of our dad's. Outside of his hair, he could almost be a twin of Dad. Miss White continued to stare at me, a smug smile on her face. "It's always easier to be prepared for a quiz when you pay attention in class, Jade." She loved to catch me daydreaming. "Sorry, Miss White," I mumbled, feeling the heat rush to my face. The battle of hiding my emotions was lost. Being caught not paying attention by my teacher irked me more than just about anything in school. Half hour later, biology class was over, and it was time for lunch with Sarah and the rest of the group. Sarah had been my best friend since kindergarten. We had hit it off when we realized neither of us liked to play with dolls or loved the color pink. We weren't normal little girls. We camped in our backyard, played in the mud, getting dirty, and rode around on our bikes all summer. Though she could be girly now, dresses, makeup, and magazines were never our focus. As we grew up, we realized we enjoyed the same books, music, TV shows, and movies. We were alike in all ways except looks. Where I was of average height and looks, Sarah was tall and stunning. She was several inches taller than me with dark terracotta skin and deep brown eyes, model-esque yet athletic. Her dominating presence and charisma commanded any room she entered. She played sports, and though she normally slummed with us, on game days she socialized with the athletes. Our group was eating inside today for lunch. February was the worst month of the year in Wisconsin, cold and miserable. All we had to look forward to was more snow and maybe icy wind. Once the cold broke in March, or say July, and the warmth came, it would be beautiful for a day or two, and then the heat and humidity would hit. It could be quite lovely in the summer or miserable and sticky. However, staying indoors all the time was driving us crazy. Sarah sat down at our spot. "Hey, Jade, how were classes?" She dropped her tray with a healthy array of pizza and fries. My face heated up all over again. I was goofing off with Bev last period and got caught. How does Miss White always know? I swear, I pay attention, take notes, and do my best, and she ignores me. One note written to Bev, and bam, she immediately calls on me. Every single time. It's like she has radar. Sarah laughed at me. "You know Miss White loves you. When does she ever ignore you? She practically voluntold you to join senior biology class at the end of freshman year. She knows you want to go into medicine. I'm sure she just wants the best for you. And she probably likes to mess with little Miss Perfect Student." Groaning, I rolled my eyes. I am by no means a perfect student. I just know my family expects a lot from me. Could have fooled me. Bevan slipped onto one of the table's benches as I shot Sarah a chagrined stare. He started to unpack his lunch, joining in on the conversation. "Not to mention, you expect a lot from you. I will admit that Miss White is exceptional at catching you when you're distracted. It's awesome," he chuckled. Sarah's amusement permeated the table. Instead of fighting them, I took some of her fries, deciding eating was better than getting mad. The lunchroom was loud as students took their assigned seats. Okay, they weren't assigned, but no one ever veered from the areas they occupied the day before. There may have been a bit of shifting once in a while, but it was rare. Bevan took a bite of a sandwich and swallowed. Apparently, we weren't done with my humiliation during biology. "But your mishap wasn't that bad," he turned to Sarah. Jade likes to exaggerate. She was in the middle of one of our notebook convos, missed a question, politely requested it repeated, and then wowed the class with her brilliance once she knew what was going on. His tone on the word politely was a bit mocking, as if he wouldn't have been just as polite. He shook his head, though his eyes were dancing, and faced me again. "Miss White can't lose you for long, Jade. She just catches you like a dog chasing a cat up the tree." I threw a fry at him. He deserved it. Jerk. I laughed. Bevan always knew how to make me laugh. Sarah turned to Bevan. "Plans for spring break?" Bevan blushed. "I know I have a year plus before I turn 18, but spring break, I'm meeting up with some people from a local organization. I found them through Instagram. They're a group of people at different stages of gender-confirming surgeries." Sarah and I both paused. A huge smile broke over my face. I threw my arms around him. "That's awesome. I know your binder sucks. The end is in sight." Bevan had known he was different at a young age. We all started calling him Bevan in middle school, though he had always brought clothes from the boys' department. His family had started the official change on paper, and he began hormone treatment with his transition to high school. He nodded. "How about you?" His focus shifted between us. Sorting my mental list, Sarah interrupted me before I could share what I decided was just me and Sarah and what the three of us could do together. She made a noise like a squeak in the back of her throat. She turned to me. "So my family wants to take a trip this spring break." She paused, staring back and forth between Bevan and me, then screeched, "To Florida!" Bevan and I flinched at our pitch. "Really?" I tried to sound excited. My cheeks pulled my mouth into a smile of sorts, but my heart dropped to my belly and disappointment flowed through my body. We were supposed to spend this spring break together. It had been a particularly hard winter. We had been fighting cabin fever for weeks. I was anticipating doing something fun together, even if it had to be indoors. The squeeze Bevan gave me on my knee under the table let me know my act hadn't worked. At least I knew he'd be around to keep me company. Eyes shut, I tried to transform my smile into something sincere. When I stared at Sarah, it was through a bit of misty vision. That's great. You're going to have so much fun. Are you going to the beaches, Orlando, the Keys? What's the plan? Is your whole family going? Even to me, my voice sounded flat. Sarah stared at me deadpan and then snorted. You are trying so hard to be happy for me, yet you look like a drowned cat. You didn't let me finish, silly. Yes, we're going to Florida. Yes, we're going to the beaches. Yes, my whole family is going, all three of us. You didn't let me finish, idiot. She paused, staring at me dramatically. We want you to come with us. Everything in the world around me stopped. My jaw dropped along with whatever I was holding. My eyes began to sting, and I had to force myself to blink. Sarah rapped on the table to get my attention. My mom is going to the University of Florida for a conference that coincides with our spring break. You won't even miss any classes. We can go on tour of the university. We'll spend most of our time in Gainesville. Not that interesting, but Dad said he would take us to Orlando for one day, maybe even the Kennedy Space Center too. We can see if there are any launches happening. Bevan knocked into me to snap me out of my shock. Finally, I replied as my heart raced and my breathing got ragged. Really? You aren't kidding me. Me too? To Florida? With your family? Really? My words stumbled out of me. You aren't kidding. This is real? And you thought I would worry about missing school? Dork. We both laughed at this point. Yes, it's real, but you need to talk to your parents to make sure they're okay with it. If you can't come, it'll be horrible. Her hand flew up to her forehead for emphasis. Like a bucket of ice cold water being dumped over my head, my mood deflated. My parents. A chill ran down my spine. My dad. Yeah, that makes sense. Focus on the good, Florida. Oh my God, this is so awesome. I hope they say yes. How many more classes until I can go home and talk with them? This is so cool, Florida. It was my turn to squeal. Jose, a senior who recently started hanging out with us and the last of our group, finally arrived. What's so cool? His dad was Mexican and his mom was from Florida, so his family spoke both English and Spanish at home. His accent always had a way of centering me. Gazing at him like a lifeline who held my future, I spoke fast enough my words practically blurred together. Sarah's family is going to Florida over spring break and she just invited me to go. My smile was starting to hurt my cheeks. Do you really think your parents will let you go? His words hit me like a punch in the gut. Deflated, I slumped and ate some pizza. Jose's family was part of the pack, unlike Sarah, who didn't know werewolves existed. He used to hang out with my older brother, Owen, another senior, but Jose got fed up with that crowd. He tended to be more academic than the lot of them. He had been on the basketball team for a few years and was good, but he never seemed to like it. Overall, he would rather hang out with us than a group of dumb jocks. At least that was my theory. He said he'd started hanging out with us this year when, as he put it, I became less annoying. He had been offered several engineering scholarships all over the country, though he planned on staying local, or at least that's what we all hoped. Having our friend close was important. The local university, the University of Wisconsin-Madison, was a great college. Mom? Yes, maybe. I don't know. Yes, don't ruin it for me. I felt defensive and defeated all at the same time. My heart started racing. Gesturing wildly, I almost took Bevan out. My face heated up in the combination of embarrassment at how important this was to me and frustration that he was probably right. Bevan carefully grabbed my wrist as Jose continued to speak. His warm eyes took me in, calming me. Jade, I'm not trying to ruin anything, chica, but your dad is not known for being the most easygoing father I've ever met. I mean, your mom is awesome, but your dad is as controlling as they come. Jose had had a few run-ins with my dad over the years, so I guess I should cut him a little slack. Focused on Jose's words, I took a deep breath, ordered my thoughts, and slipped my wrist from Bevan's grip. That's why I'm going to ask my mom first. She can convince my dad about how educational and amazing this will be for me. To get to my dad, I'll go through my mom. There, a plan of attack. Huffing out a laugh, Jose shook his head and gave me a half smile. Fair, but delusional, chica. Sarah watched us like a tennis match, her eyes bouncing back and forth. Wow, Jose, you seem to know Jade's parents almost as well as she does. Though Jose had been hanging out with us for a few months now, my parents had not been a subject of discussion. Sarah didn't really understand the neighborhood or how close we all were. Everyone in the pack lived in the neighborhood, and all the kids of pack members grew up together. We spent every full moon night together while our parents were out running, honoring Mundera, the werewolf moon god. Sarah and I had been best friends forever, but to Sarah, werewolves were just the stuff of legend and books. So she didn't know about that part of my life. I didn't think she even realized how close I was to Bevan. She probably thought Jose hung out with us because he used to hang out with Owen and knew me through him. It's hard not to know River and Hazelstone if you live in the neighborhood. I've been mowing lawns and shoveling walks since I was in 7th grade. I know them. We all laughed at the chagrin in Jose's tone. Bevan tilted his head towards me. I don't know. It's only Florida. It's not that far away. What, 1,000 miles? Her dad might like to get rid of Jade for a bit. I threw another fry at him. It wasn't that my dad was awful. It was just that he was very particular about, well, everything. And the people in the neighborhood knew this. My family hired the neighborhood kids to mow the lawn and shovel the walk. It was one of the ways for them to earn money, but if the job wasn't completed up to the Riverstone standards, you would be doing it again. Despite that, the kids in the neighborhood loved my parents. They arranged a lot of community events and outings, which was another reason Jose and I knew each other so well, despite the 2-year difference in our ages. The bell rang. Sarah grabbed her bag and stood. Okay, after school, you will convince your parents. Bevan leaned down, gave me a hug, and whispered, good luck with that, then sauntered off to class. Jose's eyes softened, and he shook his head as he left. Sighing, I grabbed my bag. Images of beaches and crystalline blue waters floated through my head. Then I thought about the possibility of seeing a rocket taking off. Shaking off my daydream, I gathered my stuff and went to return my tray. Florida. All right, so that is chapter 1 of Wolf Healer, the first book in my series. The first 4 are out, and I hope you enjoyed chapter 1. So you can get all 4 on Amazon. I don't know if there's questions. I don't know. There's a couple more minutes. Are there any questions? I wish I had time for the second chapter. The second chapter is hilarious. So what I should do next time is just read the Goose chapter from book 2. Next. Is it okay just to randomly read a chapter from the second book? Are you going to have different shifters in this book? That is the big question. Yes. It is not just a werewolf book. There are other shifters in the book. Bring on the geese. The goose chapter is the funniest. It is a multiple shifter series. But at this point in the book, Jade doesn't know that. Jade thinks there are only werewolves. That's what she's been told her whole life. Werewolves are the only shifters out there. Vicious attack. Yes. Yes. In the second book, there are vicious attack keys. And she's out running and she comes face to face with them. And it's a funny chapter. So when she comes back home, she has to fess up to being attacked despite being a fierce rare animal. She has to fess up that she was taken down by geese because they're vicious and terrifying. But that's in book 2. And then for the rest of the series, every time anyone has a chance to give her a gift, it's a goose. So geese become like a theme from then on out. Yes, I agree. Every time I see a goose, I walk the other way. They are very terrifying. Thank you for having me. This was fun. This is the second time I've come on and ended up talking about geese. Yes, I will come back and we will see you next time.